Welcome back, everybody, to Chris and Harry Unplugged. This is episode 2. I'm Harry Sisson.
I'm Chris Mowry.
And we are so honored and thankful to have you guys watching or listening or whatever format you're tuning in today. We have some major updates for you folks. First and foremost, we now have a schedule. So we will be posting the podcast every week at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, once a week. Once a week, Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And on top of that, we're very excited to announce that we're on all platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. What else are we on?
Just RSS, Podcast Index, Samsung Podcast, Google Podcast, literally anywhere you can get a podcast, we are there. If you're on YouTube right now, I will leave links to literally everything I just said and more in the description, so you can click. If not, if you're on Spotify right now and you'd rather listen on Apple Podcasts, you can search us there or go to YouTube. And like I said, I'll leave the links. So we're pretty much everywhere you can get podcasts. And I think the only other thing is we have spent quite a bit of time on this episode trying to make sure our audio sounds significantly better. I really hope that we've achieved, at least we've gotten toward the goal of making it sound perfect. I always chase perfection, folks. So hopefully it sounds better. If not, we're going to continue to make improvements week by week. I know the video situation isn't great right now, but hopefully the next episode, video will look even better. So we're always trying to improve. And yeah, I think with that being said, we also got a lot of fantastic emails. You can email us anytime at questions@CMHS Unplugged. That will also be in the description, questions@CMHS Unplugged. You got a ton of emails. Really, really appreciate everyone who emailed. We're going to try to get through 2 or 3 of them at the end of the episode. So stick around. You can listen to our responses there. And like I said, I really appreciate everyone who wrote us. And with that being said, we have a pretty dense episode here. I think we're kind of more in our podcast groove. And we're just really excited to spend, at least hopefully an hour or so here talking about some news stories and some segments, stuff like that. So, yeah, we good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yeah. Shall we just dive right in?
Let's dive right in. I think the first thing we're going to talk about here is going to be the 4th of July weekend. I hope everyone had a safe 4th of July weekend. We're going to talk about the mass shooting problem in America and guns. And this 4th of July weekend, between Wednesday night and Sunday night. So that would define that as 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
We had 22 mass shootings. Over 140 people were injured. Dude, it's just like, so when I say that, man, it sends like shivers down your spine.
Isn't it? It sends shivers. Like, think about that. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 days. 22.
Yeah, and a mass shooting being defined as anything, or any shooting where 4 or more people are shot or attempted to be shot or
killed.
Yeah, I think it's 4 or more. It's scary stuff. And I think the story we want to highlight here is the shooting in Philadelphia. The mass shooting in Philadelphia, I believe, and I think you have some more details on this. So you can go ahead.
The shooting in Philadelphia was, there, as Chris mentioned, there were a bunch of mass shootings over the weekend, but this one got the most press. In this mass shooting, 5 people were killed. Further ones were injured. Those included in the injured were very little children. But essentially what happened was a man on Monday started firing shots just randomly on a neighborhood street in Philly. He had a Kevlar vest and an AR-15 rifle, which police described as a military-style rifle or designed for military use. The shooting started in a house, and then he moved to the street. And just started opening fire on a bunch of people. There were very young people as well who died, including a young boy who was 15. There was a 20-year-old and others who lost their lives in this tragic shooting. And it just speaks to a bigger problem in this country where we're kind of numb to this. Like, look at the way we're kind of talking about this right now. Look at the way that it was covered in the media.
I was actually going to bring that up a second ago. Like, through like speaking what I was just saying, 22 mass shootings, I was getting shivers because of how like numbing it was to speak about. Like you just speak about it so like, yeah, this is because realistically we're gonna have this conversation tomorrow and the next day and the next day. I mean, statistically, like how many mass shootings have we had this year?
And that's actually a great. We've had this year alone.
Dude has it pulled up. He's ready.
I'm ready. 348 incidents across the nation this year. Which are mass shootings in which 4 or more people were injured or killed.
And they're
348. It's July.
Yeah, that's more shooting than days. That's more shootings than days.
It's more shooting than days. It's July. And it just happens every single day, and it's not covered, or we're not doing anything about it, and we're so numb to it now. This doesn't happen in other countries. In other countries that are economically comparable to us, they're not sitting there having these conversations where they're numb to the fact that there was another mass shooting there today. There was another child who got shot in a school or whatever.
And I think, people ask our opinions on gun control quite a bit. We have too many guns. We have a gun problem. Per capita, we have the most guns in the world, double the next country behind us. I don't have the exact per capita numbers up, but we are number one. And there's quite a bit of debate around these. I know people don't like the term assault weapon styled rifles, but this guy should not have been able to get his hands on what the police. I mean, this is not, a lot of people say, oh, you liberals, you don't know anything about guns. I'm not describing it as a military styled rifle. The police are. They described it as a military styled rifle. He should not have been able to get his hands on that. Whatever legislation we need to pass to do that needs to happen. And it's becoming an issue where it feels like Democrats are screaming and saying, this is at least the solution we can go forward with now. Because, a lot of Republicans, even, elected officials or Republicans you talk to say, well, it's a mental health issue. It's a culture issue. Okay, well, if it's a culture issue, that's not really something that I can legislate on. It's not something I can really pass through the Supreme Court, through Congress. And you say, oh, it's a mental health issue. Well, Republicans are blocking bills to fund mental health in school. I don't see Republicans bringing any legislation to the floor about mental health, whereas Democrats are at least saying, here's a possible solution. Let's legislate on this issue because we need more gun reform, whether that's getting rid of large capacity magazines or making it harder to get assault style weapons. And we can change the definition of assault style weapons. I know there's a lot of debate around that, but that's at least a solution that now, because a 15-year-old boy was killed. Are you going to go to his family and say, "Oh, it's a culture thing. I don't really know what to do about it, but it's a culture thing. It's not a gun problem. I promise it's not a gun problem. It's culture," and just walk away? Because I'm not hell bent on taking your guns. I'm not. The issue I have is you have no solution. If the answer is not more gun control, fine, bring me another solution because I just can't accept the whole. Oh well, it's just mental health and culture. I say okay, fine, legislate it or pass it through Congress.
And the thing about it is sometimes I understand why Democrats in Congress have to listen to Republicans and their proposals for gun control, but their proposals aren't going to change anything, right? They say it's mental health, which is definitely part of the issue, but they don't legislate that way. Then their legislation is let's give more guns. In Ohio, they passed a bill to give teachers guns, right? But the problem is with these Republican proposals, we talked about the Democrats, limiting high-capacity magazines, red flag laws, banning certain weapons that have been used in some of the worst mass shootings in American history, mental health evaluations, very common sense gun reform, right? But then we have the Republicans. They're not proposing anything. They're saying more guns. And the fact of the matter is, in whether it be America or other countries, when there's more guns, there's more gun deaths. Right. Kind of logic kind of follows that way. Right. And we're saying this to them. Young people, Democrats, we're screaming at them. We're like, guys, more guns will kill more people. Right. They will be used in more fatalities and more mass shootings, in more domestic events. And they're kind of saying, that's nice. Right. We hear you, but we don't really care.
And I think you bring up a good point that even you and I have talked about, you can't just legislate on the idea of more guns. I think you specifically have been pretty open to the idea of I don't remember what country it is, you probably do, but the idea that even you could even touch on the mental health aspect with the guns. You in a way work with Republicans here. They'll say this is a violation of the Second Amendment, which is fucking ridiculous, but you could pour tons of federal money into getting, if you want to buy a certain type of weapon or any weapon, you could give these people mental health evaluations. I think I know you've talked.
Well, yeah, it's Switzerland. Dude. It's Switzerland. So Switzerland, just for people who are listening, in the European Union has some of the highest rate of gun ownership in the EU per capita as well. So they're kind of an outlier in Europe in that sense. However, so they have 2 million guns for their 8 million population, which is a lot for Europe. And I've seen Republicans try to use Switzerland as an example of a lot of guns being in people's possessions and there being no mass shootings or no murders, right? And that's true. Switzerland has virtually no mass shootings, virtually no gun murders. but they have some of the strongest gun regulation in the world. Very strict regulation on who can even get guns. You have to have permits. You can't carry them outside. They can only be used for sport or hunting. Sellers can require said purchaser to get a mental health evaluation, and then they can reject them for all gun purchases based off that mental health evaluation, among many other different regulation. So it's going to be impossible to eliminate every gun in American society, and Chris and I are not even proposing to do that, right? But if we're going to have all these guns, then we have to have strong regulation.
Right.
It's worked in other countries. And the fact that we're sitting here even having this conversation with the lax regulation we have right now when it's been proven in other places is ridiculous. We're sitting on our asses and doing nothing.
I agree 100%. I agree.
It's just frustrating, man.
And yeah, I mean, that like I just said, that's like brilliant because it touches on the mental health aspect. And really, we just have to get this Second Amendment absolutist ideal out of society, you know.
And like, think about, like, Republicans think, and I'm not trying to demonize all Republicans in this conversation. It's just a very passionate thing for young people who, like, Chris and I are out of high school like 2 and 3 years. Like, I remember doing gun shooter drills at my school after living in Europe and never even having to think about it. It's traumatic. Fuck, what was I even talking about? What were we just talking about?
You were saying you don't mean to demonize all Republicans. You don't mean to demonize all Republicans because this issue is hard on us. Except,
oh yeah, I mean, look, yeah, we just don't mean to demonize all Republicans.
Okay. No, I mean, I agree. Yeah,
because it's not like an all Republican issue.
Yeah, I understand that you know, a lot of Republicans feel strongly about their rights to own weapons, and that's fine. I respect that. But that doesn't mean that, you know, I just cannot accept. You know, I think in another mass shooting this week, or maybe this was one of the injured in Philadelphia, there was a 2-year-old shot. A 2-year-old. Like, yeah. I get it. I understand that you are passionate about your Second Amendment right, and I respect the hell out of that. I do. But I cannot accept not having a solution to this issue. I just can't. I just can't accept it. I challenge you. If you can look at me and say it's a culture issue, or I know a lot of Republicans say, you know, we need more religion in school, et cetera, something that we can't legislate on. If you say, it's just not a guns, or I've heard Republicans even say, you know, it's the cost we have for our freedom. It's the cost that Americans have to have access, or quote unquote freedom to weapons. Okay. I challenge you to go to the family of the 2-year-old who was shot, probably in a stroller. Just you go tell them that. Go say, you know what? I do this because of my Second Amendment right. Your 2-year-old got shot because that's just what that's your 2-year-old gets shot because I want to, you know, live in
I want an AR-15.
Yeah, because I want to live in America with quote unquote freedoms. I just can't, you know, I respect you in a sense, but I can't respect that. I just can't.
No, and I think you actually made this point in a video that you made on TikTok that went very viral. And it was that all those Republicans who wore those AR-15 pins on their jackets in Congress. Yeah, I think they should go to the families of some of these.
It's absolutely
shootings.
It's absolutely real shit, because it's like I get, like, you know, you can sit there and scream behind, you know, if you're a member of Congress, you can sit there with an AR-15 pin and walk in and you think you're big and bad and you're representing American freedoms, and you're just you kind of gives off this like very like just like, I don't know, douchey, like I'm the best. You know, this is what America stands for. Okay, like you think you're so cool. I'd love for you to stand in front of I wouldn't love it, obviously, but you get what I'm saying. Like, go stand in front of one of the families and you fucking explain this to them, because I just.
Well, it's also a slap in the face to any family who or friend or anybody in relation to anybody who's lost their lives in a mass shooting or to gun violence, right? Like, you know, think about all those parents to the children who were the parents of the children who lost their lives in Uvalde, or Parkland, or Columbine, or Las Vegas, you know, in the concert shooting. Think about all the parents who have seen their kids killed due to AR-15s. In Uvalde, they had to get DNA swabs for the kids because the bodies were so mangled from the power of AR-15 rifles. Think about those parents looking at Republicans like George Santos walking around with the rifle that obliterated their children on their chest proudly.
Right. Yeah, that's deep shit. It's real shit.
I mean, think about that. I couldn't imagine having a family member of mine die at an AR-15 and then seeing Republican members of Congress,
you know,
and Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day said she loves the AR-15 because it gives you unlimited bullets. You know who else likes the AR-15 for that reason?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Mass shooters.
Exactly. Wow. I didn't even hear that quote. Did she really say that?
Daryl. She really said that.
Wow. Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe, you know what? I have the video. I'll throw it up. We'll throw it up right here.
I'm a big fan of the AR-15. The great thing about it is that you get as many bullets as you want. And if somebody's coming in your home to murder you or your children, guess what? You can have as many bullets as you need to defend yourself. And I think that's a big deal.
Actually, I'll throw it up because I have to edit. So thank you for that. I'm fucking with you. Yeah, I'll throw it up. But regardless, no, dude, absolutely crazy. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, and look, it's just the gun mentality of loving guns more than humans, more than Americans, more than our children, has permeated the Republican Party so deep that when we have these mass shootings, it's no longer wow, this is fucking tragic. It's the woke liberal mob is gonna come after my guns now.
Right, exactly. And I think specifically one of the reasons we wanted to touch on Philadelphia was because it really encapsulates a lot of what we're talking about, right? So we talked about the idea that he has a quote unquote military styled rifle. He also, it's partly a mental health issue. Harry and I don't disagree with that. You walk down the street, that's a huge problem. The other thing, the quote, I'm trying to find it. He said, he said he told police he did it. He committed this mass shooting, killed 5 people, and injured 2, as of right now. He did it to, quote, clean up the neighborhood. That's the quote. And that brings into the third issue. It's guns, it's mental health, and it's right-wing extremism. Now, I'm not trying to suggest, because we don't know this guy, if he's a right-wing extremist, but this encapsulates a lot of what the right-wing really the right-wing is becoming and being what's the word? They're being infiltrated by right-wing extremists. And I mean, that's a scary quote. That's a scary quote.
And I think that I'm not trying to spread misinformation when I say this. So, keep this with a grain of salt, or you hear this with a grain of salt. But I heard that the Philly mass shooter posted pro-Trump messages prior.
Wow.
But even if that's not the case, right? Even if that's not the case, because again, take that with a grain of salt. Not 100% sure about that. I just saw it. But the right-wing extremism has absolutely played a part in some of these mass shootings. Remember in Texas, the strip mall, the man who shot little children and families, a whole family was wiped out. That guy, wrote things down before the shooting, and one of the people he looked up to was Libs of TikTok on Twitter. The account that demonizes LGBTQ plus people along with other people on the left who are innocent. They're not doing anything wrong, for the most part. I don't really look at their content, so I can speak of it. But obviously, Libs of TikTok is a very far right extreme account, and they demonize a lot of people. The shooting in Buffalo, in New York, about a year ago, I believe it was a year ago, 10 shoppers murdered in broad daylight. The guy was a believer of white replacement theory,
right.
Which is the idea that immigrants or people of color are coming to replace white people in society. That Republicans like Elise Stefanik, a representative who's a Republican from New York, have pushed. So when we have people, and even in Illinois last year, there was a parade and there was a shooter, and he killed a bunch of people from a rooftop. That guy had pro-Trump photos, pro-Trump messages. So I'm not trying to say that all Trump supporters are like this or all Republicans like this, but there's certainly a correlation here. There's certainly some connections.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to say is if you're a Trump supporter or Republican, a lot of Republicans listen to us. And I'll say this first, like there's a lot of Republicans Harry and I deeply respect. I personally, like the two that come to mind immediately are like Joe Walsh, Liz Cheney. There's the issue here is not Republicans, or we're not, again, trying to demonize Republicans. The issue here is this extremism that is now infiltrating your party. And if you're a Trump supporter listening and you don't agree with a lot of what Harry, if you don't agree with any of what Harry was just, speaking of, you should get out. You should get out of this Trump world because your party is being infiltrated. In fact, I'll throw up the clip right now. We're gonna throw it up. This was at a Trump event. This was at not a Trump event. Trump spoke at this event. This video was either on OAN or Newsmax. This guy was being like interviewed, and this is not a random guy. This is like he's at least known somewhat because he's got the ability to be interviewed on Newsmax right before Trump speaks, and he means something within this world, I promise. Listen to what he has to say. I'm gonna throw it up.
So if you don't control education, you cannot control the future. And Stalin knew that, Mao knew that, right? Hitler knew that. We have to get that back for conservative values.
Yeah, and I think, when Harry was just speaking of, a lot of these mass shootings have to do with this right-wing Republican extremism. There's your example. That clip was found on Twitter by Democrats. Not a single Republican mentioned that clip. They are saying it out loud. And I get it. I promise I get it. It's not even the majority. It's not even close to the majority of Trump supporters. I get it. But again, your party is being infiltrated. That was a completely normal thing to them. That was just said on OAN or Newsmax or whatever. A lot of Trump supporters listen to. I know diehard Trump supporters right now, 10 to 30% of the country, whatever it is, 40% maybe, are watching Newsmax or OAN. They've ditched Fox. That's powerful stuff. I mean, what do you think, like, when this guy in Philadelphia says he did it to, quote, clean up the neighborhood? Well, that guy just said, he just talked about Hitler and Mao and all these things. Hitler also wanted to, quote unquote, clean up Germany. And people will come at us for this. I know people are going to come at us hard for this because so many Republicans say, and again, I feel like we're just like, we're not trying to generalize a whole group, I promise. But, Trump supporters get angry at very upset at this notion that is pushed that this party is becoming more extreme or it's being infiltrated by extreme people. I mean, I just don't know what to say anymore. Look at what I just showed. It's unbelievable.
And it's important to remember that, people aren't shooting up malls or schools based off of liberal ideas and things that we talk about on the left. They're not like, God, I want more people to be, have health care. Oh, fuck, I want people to have food. God damn it. Right? Right? They're not doing it for that. But when the Republicans, like these MAGA more Republicans, are spreading these really dangerous theories of white replacement theory, whatever, or the one you just talked about, where people are like, we need to control the education, like Hitler and Mao understood that. That's really fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
That's getting into some really dark territory that I think we're already seeing have an impact, not only in violent events, but just the dialogue, the political dialogue in America, where that's acceptable. And as you're right, all the Democrats called it out.
I think you can attest to this because I think we don't talk about this very often because I think it's a lot because of what we do. Like, because, we're losers, so we spend 11 to 12 hours a day on social media posting and looking at politics. We're complete fucking losers.
Complete losers.
Right. But I don't know about you, but I've seen a pretty drastic shift over the last, 4 months of this rhetoric, especially that, it all relates, that's more more extreme, leaning toward more fascism, really hating the LGBTQ community, especially this quote unquote, hating wokeness, tearing down pride flags. We've seen, the rate of year to date. I think the American I sound idiotic right now. I'm sorry. 70 last year. I think 70 some odd % of Americans supported same-sex marriage. That has dropped somewhere around 5 or 7%. That's pretty drastic over the last year.
For a year,
And we've seen just this really this extreme uptick in the last 4 to 6 months of this type of rhetoric. And I mean, now we have people. I mean, Trump spoke at that event, and he's like, "Yeah, we need to control the education system." Hitler knew that. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? That's a perfect. What the fuck are we doing? And and Chris is gonna hate me after I do this, folks.
Do it.
But I'm throwing up a clip. I'm actually gonna throw up 2 clips.
Oh my god, dude, the editing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna edit crazy.
Have at it. Listen, the first clip I'm gonna put up is one of. Speaking of Moms for Liberty, we're gonna do 2 Moms for Liberty clips here. The Republican Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Robinson. That's his last name. Was at a Moms for Liberty event recently. And take a look at what he had to say to the crowd regarding Hitler and other dictators like Mao and Stalin.
Here's the thing. Whether you're talking about Adolf Hitler, whether you're talking about Chairman Mao, whether you're talking about Stalin, whether you're talking about Pol Pot, whether you're talking about Castro in Cuba, or whether you're talking about a dozen other despots all around the globe, it is time for us to get back and start reading some of those quotes.
So listen to that, folks. This guy, an elected Republican official who's running to be the next governor of North Carolina, a big state in the United States, is saying that Hitler and Stalin and Mao and all these other dictators, awful figures in history, are being taken out of context, and we need to read their writings more.
I mean, it's
right?
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like I truly, like, I don't know what else to say. This is fucking unbelievable. What are we doing? And again,
what are we doing?
If you are a Trump supporter, a Republican, if you are not a Democrat watching this, and you wholeheartedly you're listening, and you're like, wow, that's fucking awful. Great, get out. Get out. You don't have to vote for a Democrat, but you cannot associate yourself because your party has been taken over by extremists. And look, you're going to hate me. Actually, I'm going to hate myself because we're going to have to do editing. Weren't you going to throw up a second clip? Are you throwing up a second clip?
Yeah, I was going to throw up the second
clip.
clip.
Do it.
All right, so to further our point, and this is more editing, but it's worth it. To further our point, Chris and I both posted a TikTok today about this, another clip from a Moms for Liberty event, where recently a chapter in, I think it was in Ohio or Indiana, of Moms for Liberty, in their newsletter, they quoted Hitler talking about education, similar to what the other guy was talking about in the first clip that Chris put up. And they put it in their newsletter, sent it out to all their members. They're quoting Hitler. So, of course, rightly, everybody's mad at these people. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? What's wrong with you? Why are you quoting Hitler in your newsletter? You're claiming to love America, you're quoting Hitler? But no, it was a mistake. It was not a mistake. They didn't feel bad about it. They didn't apologize. No, their co-founder is saying, I stand with that person. So take a look what the co-founder had to say at their recent Moms for Liberty event.
There's always a reason. There's always a reason why something happens, right? Yes. One of our moms in a newsletter quotes Hitler. Woo! I stand with that mom.
Yeah, so that mom, that co-founder of this thing, is saying that she stands with the member who quoted Adolf Hitler. She's not like, that was wrong.
Yep.
She should have done that. We don't stand with that.
Right, and there was quite the applause. There's quite the applause in the background.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for people who don't know, because I know that Harry and I are losers, so we're on social media, 12 hours a day with politics. But Moms for Liberty is a pretty large nonprofit group. They're very they're pretty right wing, very right wing. Their essentially whole goal is to quote unquote protect the kids. So I think you know where I'm going with this. They try to show up to school board meetings and such, and try to ban books from school, get rid of LGBTQ things in school. They think everything's too woke. Just so you understand the idea of where this is. And this is a big group, and they're a nonprofit group saying shit like this. So yeah, and I mean, unbelievable. Just absolutely fucking unbelievable.
How hard is it? How crazy do you have to be to just not condemn that? How hard is it to be like, yeah, we don't support Hitler. We don't support using his quotes in any of our material. No. They decide to go with, no, I stand with that person.
Right.
Guys, I mean,
yeah,
look, as Chris said earlier,
just get out.
What the fuck are we doing?
What the fuck, and get out. Just get out.
Get out. Get out of your party. Get out of that party.
I think people hate us for hate Democrats a lot for screaming this idea. They call it fear mongering a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But guys, I don't know how else to say it. This is not normal. This is not normal stuff. If I mean, do you understand? Like, we weren't even really alive, Harry, but we at least have the idea. I was born in 2002. I think you were born in 2003.
I was two as well.
Oh, two. Okay. We at least have the idea that this is not normal, and even a sniff of something as extreme as this a few years ago, maybe not a few years ago, but 10 or 20 years ago, you would have been ousted. You would have never seen political daylight ever again. I mean, you understand there's a guy running. I don't even remember the guy's name. Maybe should I throw up another clip? Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. But regardless, you get the point that there is people and politicians over the last 50 years who have been through such small controversy, like the most little stuff, and they get thrown out. You never hear from them ever again. And now we have people actively, spewing or echoing. I'll say echoing. Very particular word there. I'm not saying Donald Trump is saying this, but echoing the idea that we're meant. The fact that we're even mentioning Adolf Hitler. I posted the video today, and somebody commented because I couldn't say the quote because I'd get banned from or I'd get taken down on TikTok. I had a Republican comment and say, well, I feel like, you're bashing into this person, but you didn't even put up the quote. Why don't you put up the quote first? I don't fucking think the quote matters. I don't care what the fuck Hitler said. I don't care. Is this really where we're at? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sure Hitler once in his life has a quote that's not absolutely fucking horrendous. I don't care. I don't care.
It's Hitler.
It's Hitler. What are we?
It's fucking Hitler.
And that's my point. Like, you just have to sit, and when you hear something like that go through your ears, you sit there like, what the fuck? What do we do? So,
right. And look, you made a terrific point. In 2023, we have Republicans who are running for office, or people who are in these large groups like Moms for Liberty, talking about Hitler, saying we need to read his readings, saying we need to get back to the way that Hitler did things, such as controlling education, very openly and proudly. Go back 11 years ago to 2012 with Mitt Romney, or even 2008 with McCain, or 2004 with Bush. If these Republicans would have quoted Hitler or said any of these outrageous things, these far-right things, pack up your bags, get out of the party. You're never seeing political office ever again. You 100%. Will never, ever get a public speech. You'll never be elected. Nobody's going to support you. You're done. Pack your bags. In Obama's presidency, he got slammed by Republicans for wearing a tan suit, for putting Dijon mustard on a burger, for wearing a helmet while riding a bike, among other crazy controversies, right?
He wore a helmet and made him look weak, buddy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Sean Hannity in Fox News, weak.
Sean Hannity said that was a big segment. That was primetime Fox. That was
primetime
Fox. The helmet on the bike made Obama look weak.
Now
I could you could look up Obama tan suit. Look up Obama tan suit. There's a Wikipedia article about the controversy. That's how big it was. I mean, what the? Anyways, so
that is what Republicans considered significant less than a decade ago. When Obama was president, less than a decade ago. Now they have Donald Trump echoing, good word, but they also have people who are running for office openly saying these things. And Sean Hannity and Tucker, whoever else is going on news and saying, well, what's the big deal with the woke mob?
I almost want to just make my life absolute hell editing this and throw up the Dijon mustard video. Well, actually, will they allow that from Fox on Spot?
Probably not.
Okay, well, go look up.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Definitely can't put up the Fox because Fox is gonna. I don't know. Fox has put up clips of us now, so fuck Fox.
No, fuck Fox.
But yeah, they went quite in on like there's a round table of them with the Dijon mustard. And Obama put Dijon mustard on a burger. And there's he put Dijon mustard on a burger. And there's a round table of them being like, I mean, it's just like, it's actually almost laughable thing. Like, this is unbelievable. Who in their right mind puts Dijon? It's like it's an actual like news story. And I'm like, oh.
They're sitting around. They're literally. I mean, the clip is hilarious. You think it's SNL. They're sitting around like, well, this is the biggest scandal in American history.
The Dijon mustard scandal.
Anyway, we don't mean to get too off topic.
Sorry. I think this actually draws into one of our next things. And you talked about Moms for Liberty. Do you know who has ties to Moms for Liberty? And a lot of people have wanted us to talk about this. That would be RFK Jr., the other Democratic nominee. I think we'll probably have a segment at some point in a future episode about Marianne Williamson, but I know RFK is getting a lot of headlines right now. A lot of people want our thoughts. Well, first of all, I think we can start here. He was supposed to go to, I believe, one of the clips we put up from the Moms for Liberty event in Philadelphia. Did you put up a clip from Moms? Okay.
Yeah. Both of them were from Philly.
I believe he was supposed to go to that Moms for Liberty Philly event. It might have not been that one. It might have been a different Moms for Liberty Philly event. But I'll throw up the screenshot of the tweet. It's Moms for Liberty saying, RFK is coming, like very excited. He has ties to this group. He was supposed to go. He got a lot of backlash for it, obviously, because as you've seen, Moms for Liberty is an extremist nonprofit group who's quoting Hitler and trying to ban books. So I think that's where we can pretty much start with the fact that RFK is a conspiracy theorist nutjob. And he's just not a viable candidate. I mean, he's, he thinks my biggest issue is, he thinks vaccines cause autism. He said that, the reason people are transgender is because because there's chemicals in the water or the air that's making them transgender. I mean, that's Alex Jones level shit. And people say, Chris, you guys aren't open enough. It's Biden or nothing. No, I'm not in a cult. If Gavin Newsom ran tomorrow, I'd watch.
You'd look at it.
Yeah,
right.
I'd look at it. I'd be like, maybe Gavin Newsom's a choice. Put me another candidate. I'll absolutely look. But I'm not looking at someone who, I think Harry and I are very based in, or at least I am, in the idea behind we have to get rid of this conspiracy theory fucking bullshit, and we have to be, as a society, based in fact and science. And RFK, there is, I don't know how many decades worth of science to absolutely, undoubtedly prove that vaccines do not cause autism. There is not a single piece of respected journalism that shows vaccine cause autism. And we have a candidate for president of the United States who's going to affect health decisions that people make, spitting this absolute fucking nonsense. So no, you can comment on that.
100% right. And look, folks, let's just think about this for a second. RFK Jr. has said that iPhones and Wi-Fi cause cancer. Delusional. He's also said that HIV and AIDS have no connection. None. He's obviously done his COVID vaccine crap where he says it's, this or that. And he's also accused, indirectly, but, saying that there's some form of conspiracy with the assassination of former President JFK, saying that the government covered it up, or is it CIA or some crap like that, right? This guy is not based in reality. He's not a Democrat. He's a conspiracy theorist. And I understand that for people who don't pay attention to politics like Chris and I do, because, again, we're nerds, you might hear the name Kennedy and you think, Kennedy, long line of Democrats, a lot of Democrats. There are Democrats who are in the Kennedy family who are still active in modern day politics. And you might think, oh, JFK, former president. But this guy's whole family has basically disowned him. They're saying they're not supporting him because he's crazy. So keep that in mind.
Yeah,
he's crazy.
Yeah, and again, I don't mind supporting someone who's not Joe Biden. Although we think, Joe Biden has been incredibly productive, and as someone said today, I believe on MSNBC, which was, he's had one of the most youthful policy agendas in terms of actually helping the youth ever in presidential history. I mean, I like Joe Biden a lot. But if there's another candidate out there who's better suited for the office, please bring him forward. RFK is nowhere near that. He's a conspiracy theorist. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's disgusting.
He's not that guy.
He's not.
You're
not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
No.
Yeah, and look, I just can't. My main thing, one of the things I'm most passionate about in politics is this getting rid of this conspiracy theory MAGA. RFK draws in as MAGA, you're just spreading conspiracies that do real, present, serious danger in society. I think, with the claiming vaccines cause autism. I think you have discussed with me previously something about, there's a town that actually spread polio. Right. Was that it?
Right, polio.
Yeah.
Polio, yeah. There was a town that polio started spreading in again. A disease that we have a vaccine for. Nobody gets polio anymore because when you're young, you get this polio vaccine. You don't have to worry about it. But people started not getting their kids vaccinated because of modern day vaccine misinformation.
Yeah.
And it's killing people.
This stuff has serious consequence. I know people can laugh and say, well, maybe we should look into it. Okay. But, I'm going to take my 50, 60, 70, 100, whatever amount of years of accredited science over a stack of nothing. You have no proof for this. And anytime you're going to pull up an RFK clip of him saying, some quote unquote proof, it's just not. Every scientist and doctor, 99% of them are going to say this is complete bullshit.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, right? There's a reason why the overwhelming majority of the scientific community of virologists or whoever deals with viruses and pandemics and whatnot say that things like the COVID-19 vaccine is effective. Because it is. Because there's plenty of research to suggest that it is and prove that it is. But the funny thing is about these anti-vaxxers like RFK who try to make an argument that they're not effective is that they'll pull up the most random unverified studies you've ever seen in your entire life. It'll be Jimmy in the 4th grade talk to Mark, and Mark said, "I don't think it works."
I don't think it works,
on Joe Rogan.
RFK's on Joe Rogan. Right.
And he's saying, "Oh, well, Mark said it wasn't."
So and exactly. And the problem is when you put him in front of a microphone and you give him fucking Mark's study, he can amplify that in a way that no one will object, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I think Well, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna
Anyway, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're right. It's just dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous
overall.
And I was gonna. I don't even remember. I lost it. Maybe it'll come back to me. Maybe it'll come back
to you. But
maybe
all you got to know is that RFK is a lunatic. He said he was proud that Donald Trump likes him. He said he's not sure if he'd endorse Joe Biden if Biden got the nomination, which it's looking like he will. This guy's not in favor of what's best for this country. Ask him. I'm dying for a reporter to ask RFK to go in depth on any policy he have. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have policy. So conspiracy theories aside, if you're just like, well, he can believe crazy things, but I just want to look at him on a policy level. Okay, let's have that conversation. Tell me what his healthcare policy is. What does he believe about climate change? How is he going to solve the education crisis we have in many parts of this country?
You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
Anyway,
you're not that guy.
We can go on about RFK forever, but point is this guy is
no
a lunatic.
Yeah.
Point is no.
Biden 2024 easily.
Biden 2024.
And no one's censoring him. You can go down the conspiracy theory of people censoring. No one's censoring him. He's not a viable candidate. So I don't know. Just no. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to discuss quickly Threads? We can move. We're gonna shift because this actually relates pretty well because RFK and all these people spew this MAGA conspiracy nonsense. Which, for the record, I do remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I am aware that a lot of the reason this MAGA conspiracy lane got started was because people feel like they cannot relate to politicians or maybe they feel like politicians don't serve them as well as they should. And I absolutely think that's a problem that I know you and I are looked at as very establishment, which is rare. But it's a problem that should be absolutely addressed to help this problem. It's a problem that should be addressed to help the problem of MAGA conspiracy theories because a lot of these conspiracies spread and people get hot on RFK or Trump. Excuse me, because people feel like they can't. Sorry guys, my camera video cut out because someone called me. I'm sorry about the video issues. We promise next episode will be better. But no, people feel like they can't relate to normal politicians because they feel like they haven't been served correctly, or Joe Biden's not relatable. Or I talk to older people, 60, 70-year-olds who say, I've never had a president who I feel like actually cares about me, and that's totally valid. I think politics as a whole has that issue. If you're a staunch Democrat or Republican, you need to do a better job at actually showing you care about a lot of groups of Americans. So we need to focus on that as well as focus on getting rid of the MAGA conspiracy land. Now, in that mumbo jumbo that I just said, part of that is the fact that Elon Musk owns Twitter, and you can spew conspiracy fucking bullshit on Twitter. In fact, today on Twitter, it went hot. It got hot on Twitter because there was a doctored video, a fake video of Joe Biden sniffing a kid that wasn't real. It probably has over 3 million views. No one's fact check it. Twitter won't fact check it.
There's community notes.
Yeah, there's quote unquote community notes on Twitter, which don't do shit. We've been community noted before for something that wasn't even real, right? Yeah. So the fact checking service via community on Twitter is shit. But luckily, Instagram or Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook, just released Threads. It's their Twitter competitor. Gas.
Amazing.
As
Guys,
Gen
go
Zers
follow
would say,
us there as well.
Go follow us. I'm Chris Mowry on Threads. You're Harry J. Sisson. We're going to be using it a lot. I might ditch Twitter for it.
Yeah,
Threads
we're thinking about it.
Threads is really fun. No, you're fine. Threads is really fun. It's gas. Some people say that in my videos when I use quote unquote slang terms, or sometimes in my TikToks I'll be holding a basket. I fidget a lot. As you can tell on the video, a lot of people mention that I fidget. I fidget crazy. I always have to be. I feel so uncomfortable sitting. So I fidget a lot, or I am grabbing items in my videos. I'll play with basketballs and footballs, and people are like, "Wow, you just want to look relatable to Gen Z. You're so fake." I'm like, "Look relatable,
Shut up,
buddy."
Sorry.
I am 21. What do you mean I look relatable to 21?
Exactly.
I am relatable to 21. I am 21. What? Anyways, gas that's not a good term though. Don't use that. That's just weird. It's cringy. But anyways, Threads is really fun. You should check us out on Threads. Threads is fun.
Yeah.
It's not MAGA conspiracy land, and I don't think Harry and I support censoring, but I think there's a broad level where we can say that at least for very broad things, as a society, we have to accept some things are fact and some things are fiction. We don't have to, you don't have to go and fact check every post and censor, but something like the 2020 election was stolen. There's no fact check. There's no evidence behind that, and that is extremely dangerous. That's a very big term. We should be able to start with vaccine misinformation, election misinformation, etc. And I think Threads, although it's only been out a few days, will probably end up doing that. So you can check us out on Threads.
And the thing that's nice about Threads and thus far is that From the conspiracy land of Twitter, as you kind of mentioned earlier today, we've kind of moved into a more factual community. I mean, it's holding people accountable on both sides. Both sides. I can't go scream that Donald Trump is a lizard person on Threads, which is nice.
Right. Exactly.
Or popular conspiracy, whatever it might be.
Exactly.
But the nice thing about Threads so far is that a lot of these Republicans who have spread misinformation are now getting labeled. Like when you try to follow them, it says this account has been, reported multiple times for posting misinformation, and it's been confirmed that obviously it was fake. Are you sure you want to follow? And one of the people who have received that label was DC Drano. He's this
DC
big
Drano.
conservative account on Twitter. He was the guy that posted the doctored video of Joe Biden today. It was a video of Joe Biden meeting with a woman and her military husband and her child, and they put over an artificial sniffing sound. And this guy spread it on Twitter, 3 million views, as Chris said. And then on Threads, he's like, well, why do I have a misinformation label?
Right.
Well, I wonder.
Right. Exactly. If you try to follow DC Drano on Instagram, for a while at least, I'm not sure if it's still there, or on Threads, I'm sorry. If you try to follow him on Threads, it'll say, this account is known for posting misinformation that goes against our community guidelines. And he was very upset about this. He might get his hands on this clip because this guy's got a lot of followers on Twitter. He hates us. Buddy,
he hates us.
I don't know what else to tell you. You're crying. You're a little fucking, I'm gonna be mean. I'm gonna be mean. You're a little fucking snowflake. You sit on Twitter and you love Elon Musk. Like, I've never seen someone love Elon Musk so much in my life. You're simping to a billionaire, and you cry on in Twitter, and you're like, why am I being labeled with misinformation? The same day that you're posting fucking doctored videos of Joe Biden sniffing kids, you're claiming the election was stolen with no evidence. I mean, this is why you're getting labeled with misinformation, because you're spewing misinformation. I don't know what else to tell you, buddy.
It's right there.
It's right there.
You're answering your own question.
Yeah,
you're knowingly.
Yeah.
And everybody responded to him. Thankfully, people came in clutch, like myself, you, and some other amazing left Twitter creators. We're posting the real video. The real video has been out for days. They know they're lying.
Yeah.
They don't care.
And I'm pretty sure the video was taken by the mom, who was quite happy to meet Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Yes, and what part of the video was Joe Biden leaning into her. I think she had a son with her, and he leaned into him and said, and this is what the mom said. She said that Joe Biden said to the child, "You're going to be the first Mexican president of the United States."
No way. Is that actually?
Yes,
Bro,
that's what he said. So Joe Biden is meeting with military families.
That's crazy.
Talking to and he's like, "Let me tell you a secret. You're going to be the first Mexican president of the United States. I believe in you." That's what he's saying
powerful
to a kid.
shit.
That's powerful shit. And Republicans
shit.
are taking a nice moment with a military family, no less, and they're turning it into a conspiracy. They're turning it into a lie. And then they're crying about it when they get misinformation labels on other platforms because Elon Musk doesn't give a shit about people lying.
That's crazy. I did not know that's what he said.
She posted it on TikTok, and that was one of the comments she left, that her child told her that's what President Biden said to the kid.
Unbelievable. President Biden is unbelievable.
Nice guy. Anyway, the Republicans love to turn these nice people and nice moments into something so gross and nefarious.
That's because it's a disinformation campaign. That's all.
It's a misinformation campaign. That's the way they can only win, folks. I mean, keep that in mind in 2024. The only way that these folks think they can beat President Biden and the Democrats is lying and kind of pushing these narratives that are obviously not true. Joe Biden's this or Joe Biden's that. Anyway, this especially gets me heated. But Threads is fun for that reason.
Yeah, Threads is fun.
Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, Harry. Let me ask you a really tough question. How long have we been recording for? Because I had to cut my video, so it's all messed up.
We're 49 minutes.
49 minutes. Okay. You want to do emails? You're gonna end on some emails?
Well, actually, before we do emails, I have one more thing.
One more
thing I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
And
did you want to do your segment, your poll?
I would love to do my little segment.
Let's do it.
Just as another part of the podcast, we're going to start doing a little bit of segments after we cover the news and things that are happening in the world and America recently. We're going to do some segments, if applicable. If there's nothing, we won't do it. But if there's something interesting we saw in the week, we would love to bring your guys' attention to it. So something that I caught on Twitter, and maybe you folks saw my TikTok videos about it, except those got taken down for violating community guidelines somehow. But this Republican creator on Twitter, and I'm not going to say his name because we don't want to give him publicity, but this popular Republican creator has over 500,000 followers, posted a poll on his Twitter account. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'll throw it up. If you're listening, I'll describe it to you. He asked, would you rather have your son, that was the question of the poll, and the first option was be in the KKK, or the second option was be in the LGBTQ plus community. Now, over 65,000 people of his followers, of these conservatives, voted in this poll. And 75% of those people said that they would rather have their son be in the KKK.
Wow.
I mean, isn't that, when I saw that, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe my eyes. Sorry, folks. It's Unplugged. We just had some technical difficulties.
We're really
Apparently,
having some technical difficulties.
Apparently, everybody wants to be calling it. We're filming this right now at 11:27 at night. We've been going at this for many hours. Apparently, everybody wants to call us right now. So our video's cut out a couple times.
It's Unplugged, but we've probably been attempting some form of this, getting through audio and video issues for the last. It's now been 10+ hours. So,
like legit over the past few days.
We're really at it. Like we're really trying. I promise it's gonna get better. I know my video, I've been fidgeting so much. I promise we're gonna get webcams. I swear it's gonna get better. I appreciate all of you so much.
And there will be no more disturbances going forward. But
yes,
anyway,
go ahead.
aside from that, apologize. We're getting right back into it. So this poll, right? So, this guy's a very popular creator, over 500,000 followers, and we're now to the point in America where we have a significant portion of people who said they'd rather have their son be in a hateful, racist, bigoted organization who have committed some of the most heinous acts in American history and pushed the most disgusting ideology. They'd rather have their son be in that group than be who they are and love who they want to love.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, and I'm going to say it, Unplugged, fucking awful.
It's terrible. And it really goes to the point that like this narrative of, it's quote unquote for the kids has just been absolutely nuked. Like I actually feel, or I could, I definitely disagreed when people, or they still say, kids are being indoctrinated, trying to protect the kids. I disagree a lot, but I've talked to very, very nice people who are moms or fathers who really care about their kids. And I get it. Like I really, like I'm friends with you. Like I'm friends, like no hard feelings. But a lot of this narrative has now been nuked because we said at the beginning, when you say you want to protect the kids, that sounds like you may be trying to hint at the fact that, you don't like the LGBTQ plus community. And Republicans said, no, that's not the case. Well, all of a sudden, 6 months later, here we are, and the hate has exploded against this community. And I think the poll shows it well. I mean, we're tearing down pride flags. I mentioned earlier the rate at which people are approving of same-sex marriage is going down. I mean, if you just scroll Twitter, I mean, people, I've seen people, very large creators, completely dehumanize LGBTQ plus people. I saw a thread with Dylan Mulvaney, who's the trans person who did the Bud Light advertisement, and also a thread with a trans individual, I believe, who was on the White House lawn for Pride Month. And there was comments from very big creators, 300,000 plus followers, saying, if I ever saw this horrid creature, like literally using the words, this horrid creature, like dehumanizing entire populations. And these are not small accounts. These are 300, 400, 500,000 follower accounts. And I'm telling you, a year or 2 years ago, this would not be acceptable. Like this, that you can, I think we have a good view because we're on social media so much, how this is evolving in Americans' minds. Like I'm telling you, just not long ago, something like that poll, you'd be like, people would be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell? Get that shit off. But now everyone's like, yeah, that's normal. When they dehumanize trans individuals who are already like who I really feel for, there's not a peep. People are just like, yeah, it's normal. It's fucking horrendous.
I know, Chris, you and I have talked about this in private, but this is something that's consistent throughout American history and world history when we have these events against like marginalized groups, these movements to suppress and oppress marginalized groups, is that what these people start with, in this case the Republicans, is an explanation that sounds somewhat justified to your average American. So for people who don't research politics, they had to come up with something to make the idea that their homophobia a little bit more palatable for your average American. So what did they come up with? As you said earlier, they said it's for the kids. We just want to protect the kids. We don't want any indoctrination. We don't want to sexualize anybody. We just want to protect the kids. Chris and I and people who study politics from the get-go always knew that was a bullshit excuse, but that's what they ran with. And then when they started seeing that their homophobia, their bigotry was a little bit more accepted and that their excuse might have worked, they went mask off. Mask off. That's why we have polls like this. That's why we have Unplugged, folks. For the people who are listening audio.
No, we're fine. No, my light just went out, dude. I mean, this is... Go ahead.
It's chaos. It's chaos. Anyway,
guess.
point is that they had to come up with an excuse to get people into their movement and kind of listening to what they had to say. And now they're going mask off. They're not even saying it's for the kids anymore. They're just attacking trans people just because they're trans.
Right, exactly. And I might be, you and I might not disagree, but look at this situation slightly differently because I may be just too nice. That's my problem. For a long time, like I really like accepted the notion of like heavily disagreed, but in some sense I try to like step into people's shoes. So I'm like, no, like they're not homophobic. They really are trying to protect the kids. And now all of a sudden I really am pissed. I'm pissed because like I said, this whole, it's been nuked. It's mask off. Mask off.
It's
Mask
none
off.
of this.
Mask
They're not
off.
even trying anymore. They're not even trying to, cover their bigotry. They're proud about it. They're out there saying it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling, trans people and people in the LGBTQ plus community the G word, the GROOMER word. I don't even want to say it, man. Which is disgusting. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that poll was interesting in the sense that it's horrifying and it makes me very nervous for the prospects of America's future and quite frankly for the people who are in the LGBTQ plus community. I mean, we just got to keep fighting for these people
Truly,
and be allies.
All right, I feel for the LGBTQ plus community because I think it's it's
and
sad
people of
right
color,
now.
people of color,
right.
even
Right.
KKK is obviously
right. Minority groups, LGBTQ. Yeah, it's the extremists on the right is not going well, and yeah.
Well, anyway,
So with that being said,
yeah,
you
let's move into some emails now.
Yeah, I think we're on our last section. We'll go to emails.
We'll go to our emails now. Chris, do you have them pulled up by any chance?
I do indeed.
All right, go for it.
We'll go ahead and start here. We're going to go with 2 emails. First of all, we're going to start with Dan, my buddy Dan. He says, Dan says, Chris and Harry, I'm a huge fan of yours on various platforms, including now your podcast. I'm 70 years old, proudly woke, proudly American, and profoundly depressed about where our country is headed very rapidly. But your insights, your passion, your energy, your wisdom, your breadth and depth, and your basic belief in the goodness of America lifts me up every day. You're a great spokesman for your generation. Our future is in excellent hands. So how are you funding what you do? There must be expenses. You don't have time to work a summer job, I'm sure. So how are you paying for whatever you need? If there's a way to contribute, I'm happy to. And if there is a way, you need to do a better job promoting it. Thanks again for all you do for Gen Z, for America, and for people like me who want to believe that there will be an end to our country's death spiral. Please let me know how I can help. Gratefully, Dan.
Wow.
Dan, I have to say, first of all, thank you so much for such an incredibly kind email. You're a great writer. First of all, we love woke. Shout out for you being 70 and woke.
We love woke.
That's absolutely awesome. You're a great writer too. You remind me of my father. Fantastic. Also, I want to say the fact that you would even consider donating, or the fact that you even watch and now are have this consideration of donating and reach out, it truly like touches me in a way that I can't describe. I appreciate it so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I think Harry and I have discussed ethically. We tend to be a little bit different than a lot of people on social media, especially in the political world. You can draw quite a bit of money in this field, especially in politics. You can make, I won't go into the details, but we know creators who, you know what, never mind. You can make quite a bit of money, and ethically, Harry and I don't think that's right. So we've never pushed donations, Substack links. We've never pushed donations, Substack links, anything like that.
Or any of that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we just do this 11, 12 hours a day. We're not really sure how we're going to get money from it yet. We're just kind of figuring it out. But we've thought to ourselves, we could, for the podcast, start a Patreon. So essentially what Patreon is, you subscribe for $5 or $10 a month. You get bonus, like we'd probably upload, like, I guess, a bonus episode once a week just for Patreon subscribers. We could do live streams just on Patreon. We could chat on Patreon. There's a lot of cool stuff on Patreon. We're just not sure ethically if we want to do that. And so this is Unplugged. We're trying to be raw with our thoughts. You can let us know via questions or via comment or email what you think about the idea of us starting Patreon, if it's ethically right, if you would subscribe, and we'll address it next episode. So Dan, thank you so much. I really appreciate
progress. And Dan, that was really nice. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan.
It's a very nice.
And our last email. And again, we appreciate all the emails we got. They were absolutely incredible. Last email is going to be from David. Shout out, David.
Shout out, David.
David said, Chris and Harry, reaching out from Gen X. One question I'd love to address would be the challenge of getting your fellow Gen Zs out to vote. long lines, restricted voting hours, limitations on mail-in ballots. Gen Z may be the most politically progressive-leaning generation ever, but that won't help if it's also the most politically disillusioned generation, because the disillusioned tend not to vote. Congrats again on the podcast. Thanks, David. Well, David, really appreciate the congrats. Thank you so much for reaching out. It truly means the world. I can't say that enough. I just can't. It's crazy. How do we get Gen Z out to vote?
Well,
listen.
I think there's plenty of ways. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Think?
Go
What's your
ahead.
number one
No,
thing?
you go. I'll go. I think social media is the
Number
biggest
one
one. I think social media is the
Bingo.
biggest one. It is. It played a huge role in the midterms. It will play a huge role again. A lot of Gen Zers, we've seen very new polling that they're getting the majority of their news off social media, and that's okay. I don't blame. As a 21-year-old, sometimes, a lot of times actually, because I'm a nerd and I'm a loser, I turn on MSNBC or I turn on CNN or I turn on Fox, but I'm a fucking loser. Most 21-year-olds do not want to watch cable news, and I get it. I respect it, dude. Fuck that. And so social media is going to play a big role in getting people informed and getting people to decide who they want to vote for. So we need to, if you are passionate about something, or you're a Democrat who's passionate, or, passionate about anything politically, I would get out on social media, and hopefully we can convince young people to vote however they feel best.
Yeah. And I think there are some other great ways, such as, first and foremost, being accurate with the information and kind of stressing the importance of the moment. We had Roe v. Wade overturned a year ago. We have the student debt struck down by the Supreme Court. We have, Republicans pushing, as we talked about earlier in this podcast, these crazy radical beliefs. Trump just insane, right? Insane, kind of overlooking crimes being committed. These are things. Climate change. They don't believe in that crap. They don't believe in climate change. They don't care about vaccines. All this stuff, right? All this stuff affects us. Affects young people, and kind of stressing to these young people, it's like, this is our future, right? So
Right.
I understand that. You're not like Chris and I who watch cable news. You don't go on, so you're not even on political side of social media, but these are issues that really affect us, and they're going to continue to affect us. And the way you vote right now will affect you in 20 years.
And I think that's really well said. I think that's.
And I think the final way for me is, if you're a young person listening, or older, or however you're old, whether you're young or you're young at heart, right?
Nice.
Get everybody, thanks, buddy, appreciate you. Get everybody to vote. And if you're young, please, if you're in college, if you're young 20s, late 20s, early 30s, whatever it may be, get your friends, family, and others registered to vote. Have these conversations that we're having with you folks today, about how important these elections are and how big these issues are, and just stress that voting is necessary. So that's kind of how Chris and I are thinking regarding social media.
I agree.
Just stressing how important these things are.
I agree. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, David and Dan. And we got a lot of emails. Again, we read them all. Thank you so much. I'll try to get through, in the next episode, we'll try to get through more. And you're always welcome to email questions at cmhsunplugged.com. And with that being said, a couple things. We really appreciate everyone sticking around. I know this episode was a little messy. We had some audio issues. We had some video issues. Both of our videos cut out at least once. I know on my video I've been fidgeting like crazy everywhere, cough, and just, dude, I fidget so much. It really, we're putting in tons of effort to this, like, truly. This second episode has been over 10 hours because of just all sorts of stuff. So we just want you to know that, we do care a lot, and we will continue to get better. This podcast will continue to get better. It will continue to look better. It will continue to sound better every single week. So
bear with us, folks.
Yeah,
bear with us. We're getting there.
Thank you so much for watching episode 2. Look for us everywhere Mondays, 1 p.m. We'll be back next Monday, and I hope everyone has an absolutely lovely week. I love you all, and I appreciate you. Be safe.